The Ozman has officially departed the stage for the final time, and I only have one question. Who was chopping onions while he was playing Mama I'm Coming Home? Not cool. Not cool. Yes, this last weekend was the big event, the final time the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne, was to take the stage. I know that you've heard that many times in the past. Both Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne have had farewell tours before, but it is much different this time, given that Ozzy physically can't stand up or walk anymore. It's just a sad fact that age and nature has finally caught up to the madman, but this massive concert held in his hometown of Birmingham, England, I think is pretty much the best way he could have possibly gone out. Like many of you out there, I watched the entire concert on the live stream. Yes, I paid the $30 to watch it, and everyone was very curious about how this entire day was gonna go. Would the bands play full sets? Would Ozzy even be able to do it? Is Axl Rose gonna be late? There were so many questions surrounding this event, and having watched the entire thing, I'm here to give you an honest rundown. So headbang the like button, stage dive on the subscribe button, and windmill the video to your friends. And if you're a fan of the channel, consider becoming a member. Memberships only cost 99 cents a month, and each one really helps me toward my lifelong goal of creating a life-size Godzilla to invade Canada. Right off the bat, the first thing to start with is that the online stream itself. It was $30 to watch, which $30 for a live stream, a lot of people are not happy with that. It wasn't particularly my favorite thing in the world, but having watched it, I gotta say that the film quality of it was excellent. It did not come off like a webcam in the back of the crowd. It was very professional. Like watching a 4K concert DVD. There was multiple angles, it was edited together really well already. Shots looked cinematic, so visually I was more than satisfied with the quality. Sound quality was hit and miss at times. Thankfully for the big major moments where it really mattered, it hit. It sounded great. But there were other moments during other bands where it was not the best. During Alice in Chains' performance for a little bit, it got muted during one of their songs, and everyone was like, what the fuck is going on? Big one to mention was that when Pantera started, their sound mix was fucking horrendous. If you were watching anyone live, you could see their face go to, Thankfully, it did improve throughout their set, and by the time they played their Black Sabbath covers, I thought they sounded pretty excellent. But when they opened with Cowboys from Hell, oh my god. You might just want to mute that part when you watch the footage. And for a couple of the other acts, the vocals could have been louder, bass could have been mixed a little bit better, but I don't think it was ever awful. For the most part, it was either good enough or it was really good. For Ozzy and Black Sabbath, it was really good. And for Metallica, I thought it sounded good too. Let's talk about how the event was set up. So it was a lot of the biggest metal bands to ever exist playing in one day. How was their sets gonna work when a lot of these bands are used to playing for like 2 hours? Well, the way this ran, it was way more like an award show setup than it was a festival or a concert. Every band played about 4 songs. Some bands played less than that. Every band did at least one Black Sabbath song, and no one had their like special stage setup with like Slayer didn't have fire, Guns N' Roses didn't have a bunch of useless shit to distract you from Axl singing on stage. Tool didn't have a psychedelic show on in the background. So it was like an award show setup where the members would come out and perform these like classic songs together. And I was wondering, for the people that attended the concert in person, do you feel cheated or ripped off at all that the bands didn't play full sets, or were you satisfied with it? Did you kind of figure it was going to be like that going into it, or how did you feel? I'd like to know from people who were on the ground. One thing about the event that seemed kind of pointless but ended up being a lot of fun was the host, Aquaman Jason Momoa. Not really sure why him in particular would come to mind to host an event like this. And by host, I mean he kind of just came out and said which band was next. But you could tell that he was like a kid in a toy store the entire show. He was probably drunk at some point. But during Pantera, he introduced the band and then gets off the stage and goes straight into the crowd. And you can see him in there like jumping and headbanging, singing along with people. So that did actually make it a lot of fun. I was saying, how terrifying would it be to be moshing in the pit for Pantera, turn around and Aquaman's flying at you. You're like, oh shit! I really liked that they had video tributes of bands who were not there performing. Like they had Def Leppard, they had Elton John, they had Judas Priest, and a bunch of other bands send in a little video message saying we love you, Ozzy. That was very nice. They also had a lot of footage of random fans doing the same thing, which I do appreciate and I think was a good idea. Only problem was, they did it way too much. I don't know how it was if you were there at the concert, but on the stream, between bands, they would play these videos of fans talking about how much they like Ozzy and Black Sabbath, but they started repeating the same people over and over again. And it started getting to the point where on my live stream, we were all, yo, fuck these people. Like, you're making me dislike fellow fans for no reason just because we want to see other things. It's annoying. Showing fans, great. Showing the same fan 4 or 5 times. No. What I thought was really weird was that they were not showing old footage of Ozzy throughout his career. I would think in between bands they would be showing just old footage, interviews, highlights throughout his career. They didn't do that at all. It was only, I think, like right before Ozzy came on stage, they like flashed that for a second. But instead of showing highlights throughout Ozzy's career, at least on the live stream, in between bands, they would show the same fans repeatedly, local bands to Birmingham that like maybe at once is cool, but 4 times you're like, okay. The same tattoo shop over and over again. Like, you show all these things once, great, fine. When you're clearly using it as filler to kill the time, as you couldn't think of anything better at Ozzy's final show, it got kind of annoying. Yeah, so that was a little weird. Me and my viewers were saying in between sets, we would have preferred if they just left the cameras on the crew setting up the stage and left the sound going and feel like you're in that environment still, because it really broke the immersion. If you're watching the live stream, you feel like you're there hanging out with everybody enjoying the show, and then they're showing same clips over and over again. But yeah, this whole setup was much more a ceremony, a celebration event of Ozzy. It wasn't so much like a festival all day of bands doing their own thing. As I said, every artist that performed did either a Black Sabbath or an Ozzy cover, which was really cool, except for Steven Tyler. He was the only person who didn't do any Ozzy song at all. He did his own songs and a Led Zeppelin song, which Steven Tyler fucking rocked it when he was on the stage. That was one of the most entertaining parts. But I thought it was strange that he was the one person didn't do any Ozzy material. It was the same with one of the supergroups. It was KK Downing and a couple of other people, and they opened with Breaking the Law. And I was like, hey, this is cool. I like the song. Why are you playing it at Ozzy's final show? But let's go through the covers that were played. So, first band of the day, Mastodon. They ended their set covering Supernaut with special guest Mario from Gojira, Danny from Tool, and Eloy from Slipknot. Mastodon were pretty good. I've never been the biggest fan of them, but I enjoyed their set. They played their songs that I like the most. I think they're a good band to cover Sabbath songs. Though it was funny, I noticed their drummer was wearing a Black Sabbath shirt, but it was a Heaven and Hell shirt. We kept joking that Sharon was just gonna pull him off stage and just make him disappear. After Mastodon were Rival Sons. They did a cover of Electric Funeral that wasn't bad, and I gotta say, the one thing I thought during their whole set was, man, their singer looks exactly like that meme of JD Vance that's going around. Now that you see it, you will never unsee it. After them were Anthrax, who only did 2 songs super disappointingly. They sounded great, I love Anthrax, but they opened with Indians, then they did a cover of Into the Void, which was cool, and then they left. And all of us wanted more. But no, we had to show the same fans in tattoo shops over and over again. After Anthrax were Hailstorm, which is a crime against music. They did a cover of Perry Mason, which wasn't a bad cover. I just wanted more Anthrax. Following them were Lamb of God, who did a 3-song set. They ended with a pretty rad cover of Children of the Grave, one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs. For this one, Randy went in and out of clean vocals and his growling vocals, and when he was doing his growling vocals, it was really cool. And when he was doing his clean vocals, anyway, next was the first supergroup put together by, I guess, the musical maestro of the event, Tom Morello. They did The Ultimate Sin with Liz Hale, Nuno Betancourt, I don't know who that is, Jake E. Lee, which was cool. He looked really good for someone who'd been shot a lot recently, David Effelson, Mike Borden, and Adam Wakeman. Next, they did Shot in the Dark with David Draymond from Disturbed, who was booed by a couple of people in the crowd when he came out on stage. Not the entire crowd. It wasn't overwhelming, but with my headphones on, I could definitely hear it. Which for me, it was like, you can't put politics away for 2 songs for a tribute to Ozzy celebration. No? Okay. But he did covers of Shot in the Dark and Sweet Leaf. Next, they were joined by Scott Ian, Frank Bello, the drummer for Sleep Token. Supposedly, it could have just been someone dressed like him. And vocalist Whitfield Crane, who me and my audience had no fucking clue who that was when they were up. But they did the song Believer, and then they did Changes with Youngblood, which a lot of people seem to like. And then there was a video performance, not their live, of Scott Ian and Tom Morello's sons performing Mr. Crowley with Jack Black. Yeah, that was a thing that happened. After them were Alice in Chains, who did a 3-song set. They ended with a cover of Fairies Wear Boots, which I love that song, and that's the one that got muted for some reason on the stream. Later on in the stream, they were doing flashbacks of people who played before, and then they did play it with the audio, but live it was very confusing. After them were Gojira, who I think were the best extreme heavy band of the day. Thoroughly enjoyed their entire 4-song set. Mix could have been a little bit better, just because if you've seen Gojira in person, you know what a massive earthquake that experience is like. So I understand a bit hard to mix for a live stream, but they could have been a little bit better. But performance-wise, they were fucking great. They did a cover of Under the Sun. They have an excellent sound for covering Sabbath. After Gojira was a drum off. It's a drum off. It's a drum off. Which featured 3 drum sets, one played by Travis Barker of Blink-182, one played by Danny Carey of Tool, and one played by Will Ferrell of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, plus Tom Morello, Nuno Betancourt, and Rudy Sarzo. And I gotta say that this part was hugely underwhelming. This felt way more like a jam than it did a drum off, like a competition. I don't think it was any of them at the top of their skill in any way. It was just jamming to the same song. And that's the thing, the supergroups, I felt like were a bit of a letdown. They were not the standout of the night by any means. I enjoyed every actual full band doing a cover a lot more than I did these supergroups who were kind of jamming the songs. After the drum off, the next supergroup started with Billy Corgan, Tom Morello, KK Downing, Adam Jones, Rudy Sarzo, and Dana Carey covering Breaking the Law, which I liked, but was weird. Then the same group covered Snowblind. Then they were joined by the one and only Sammy Hagar, who looked fresh off the beach wearing a Free Tequila shirt. If you were to make a stereotype of Sammy Hagar, he looked exactly like it. They did Flying High Again and Rock Candy. Maybe Ozzy just liked these songs and asked them to perform them. Up next, the supergroup consisted of Travis Barker, Rudy Sarzo, Adam Wakeman, Nuno Betancourt, Vernon Reed, and Tobias Forge of Ghost. I'm not going to call him whatever nickname he's going by this week. They covered Bark at the Moon, and I thought that that one was pretty good. If anything, Ghost is a band that can do solo Ozzy songs well, so that was a good cover. Up next, they replaced Ghost with Aerosmith as Steven Tyler came out onto the stage, claiming that he's retired and can't do it anymore, and that is bullshit because he rocked that stage. I know his face looks like a leather purse that was been left out in the desert for 40 years. I know he was still thrusting his dick into the camera when he's as old as a T-Rex, but fuck, he sounded great. He's an awesome frontman. That was so much fun. But he did Train Kept a Rollin' by Aerosmith, Walk This Way, and Whole Lotta Love, none of which are songs that feature Ozzy Osbourne, but alright. After the supergroups were done, the next full band on the stage were Pantera, who, like I said earlier, the sound mix was fucking horrendous during their first song. Cowboys from Hell sounded like shit. But I do think during Walk, it got better. It started to sound much smoother, much heavier, and then they did their cover of Planet Caravan of Black Sabbath, but they also did a cover of Electric Funeral, and I think that might have been maybe my favorite cover of the night. They just had such an excellent sound for it. The mix got way better by that point in the set. Oh yeah, during Pantera's set. So every band sang a little speech to Ozzy. At one point in between songs, Phil Anselmo goes, "I know everyone's expecting me to say something." And I went, "Phil, don't do it." But thankfully, he just praised Ozzy and not anything else. But when the sound for Pantera was good, it was really good. After Pantera were Tool, and I fell asleep. But apparently they did a cover of Hand of Doom. If you like Tool, you might have liked it. Don't like Tool? It was exactly as boring as you thought it was. After Tool were Slayer. Yes, it went Pantera, and then Tool, and then Slayer. Knocks you out, then keeps it going. Slayer were the first band to play more than 4 songs, and they sounded great. They were the only band to have multiple mosh pits going. There was some moshing during Lamb of God and Gojira, but at one point the camera pulled back on the audience for Slayer and you could see about 6 little pits going. Not like headline Slayer pits, but still pretty good. We were joking for this type of show. It was like, alright, all you young 40-year-olds, get out the pit. It's time for us old school 65-year-olds. Fuck yeah. But Slayer killed it. They pretty much played their greatest hits, which, hey, no complaints there. They also did a cover of Wicked World by Black Sabbath, and Slayer doing a Black Sabbath cover was really cool. And Tom Araya was so happy to not have to sleep on the couch that night. Do you know what was not really cool though? Guns N' Roses' performance, which came up after Slayer. Actually, to be fair, the band of Guns N' Roses, Slash, Duff, and whoever else is hired this week, they sounded excellent. Axl? No. Axl sounded like if Mickey Mouse had been doing hits of Helium and was trying to sing Black Sabbath covers in a bar. He just was not projecting at all. It was really bad. Which sucked because I am one of few people who still likes Guns N' Roses. I was really excited to hear them covering Black Sabbath songs. And to be fair, they did a couple. They opened with Never Say Die. Well, they actually opened with Axl sitting down and banging on his piano for about 10 seconds, and then they never used it again. But they covered Never Say Die, Junior's Eyes, and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, which would have been cool if Axl could sing. Which sucks because I know Guns N' Roses can do awesome covers, but not that night. Following Guns N' Roses were Metallica, and no riots broke out. Imagine that. Metallica, I would say, probably had the best performance aside from Ozzy for the night. It seemed almost as emotional for them as it was for Ozzy. James Hetfield has always come off as a really legit dude. He's always down to earth with fans and talking about bands that he loves. Metallica opened with a cover of Hole in the Sky, which Metallica covering Sabbath was really dope. And they did a cover of Johnny Blade, which I'd never heard before, but was fun. And they did a couple of their own songs, not many, probably the shortest set they've played in many years. But they ended with Master of Puppets, and I was saying on stream that you can know of so many bands that are better than Metallica with heavier music, and you can talk about how I've outgrown Metallica and whatever. But when that song comes on live and everyone's into it, you're gonna start headbanging, you're gonna start singing, you just can't help it. After Metallica was the big moment of the night. The one and only Ozzy Osbourne was to arise to the stage. I say that because he literally rose out of the ground in a black leather throne, which was fucking badass. And I gotta say that the moment Ozzy got to the stage, you could see what it meant to him. The entire time, you could see in his eyes how moved he was, how excited he was. You could see him trying to get out of the chair. He never did, but his body was just so restless. And it was so fucking powerful, man. I can't imagine what it was like to be there live. Watching it on stream was overwhelming. He opened with I Don't Know, which was really cool. Then went into Mr. Crowley, and I think this was the moment that the gravity of it really started hitting people. Something about when the solo was playing, maybe you could just feel the energy that was coming from Ozzy, but that was the moment where most people were starting to be like, holy shit, this is really like hitting what this means now. He did Suicide Solution after that, and then following that, he performed Mama, I'm Coming Home. Got to say, the most emotional moment in heavy metal history. This was overwhelming. I watched the entire concert live on stream with a watch along, which you could still check out. If you have access to the concert, you could line it up to my commentary if you want to hear that. But at that moment, like, everyone stopped. Everyone was just so moved by it. You could see the tears in Ozzy's eyes while he was singing it. Just holy shit, dude, I can't even describe it. The stream was worth the $30 just for that one song. Seriously. He sounded excellent, and you could just feel the emotion coming from him. Like, imagine going on stage knowing that it's for the last time. And then you're just running through, like, Ozzy's entire career in your head. I was thinking of the music video and every, like, live footage and times I saw him live of him performing this song. Find the most, like, tough, badass metal elitist you can possibly find that never cries at any pussy shit, and show them this performance of Ozzy. They will be in fucking tears. Follow that, they had to pick up the crowd a little bit. Everyone's crying so much with Crazy Train, which is a great song. And I could tell at the beginning it was, I think, a little bit slow and off. Probably because everyone was crying so fucking hard. It's like, I wasn't mad at it. I wasn't like, oh, they're fucking it up. But it was just, you could tell they were like, oh shit, we gotta like rock now. Hang on. After that was the end of Ozzy's solo set. But then they were followed with Black Sabbath, which actually did bring Ozzy off stage and then brought him back for the Sabbath set. I kind of thought they could leave him up there and he could have been like talking to the audience while the rest of the band were coming out. But original Sabbath came out, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, who looked like a badass, and Bill Ward, who was really awesome to see, but man, he should have kept his shirt on. Seeing Sabbath again was great. It was awesome. They opened it with War Pigs. Then they did NIB. Oh my god, I fucking love that song. I was having flashbacks to when I saw Black Sabbath live. Geezer Butler slapping the bass, making it look easy. Then they did Iron Man for the final time ever, and the last song performed live by Black Sabbath, performed live by Ozzy Osbourne, was the classic Paranoid, which just, yeah, I think at that point everyone has a huge smile on their face, probably bittersweet tears of happiness at the same time. I thought Black Sabbath rocked it, but I thought Ozzy's solo set was more emotional and a bit more impactful, but then that was it. The band left the stage for the final time. Ozzy was left on stage for a little bit just to take in the audience, and then he was brought out a cake of happy career, basically. Throughout Ozzy's whole performance, performance, he sounded fantastic. He was always in the throne, which obviously he can't stand up, so completely understandable. But I mean, he looked badass in it anyway, so he pulled it off. While he was doing songs, in between his vocal parts, he would put some spray in his mouth. He had a little table next to his throne. One of the things he had was a cup of tea. And I actually thought it looked like so fucking badass to have Ozzy Osbourne sitting up there in a black leather throne, looking all evil and shit. People are ripping metal, and he's just like sipping tea, like... It was obviously to help his voice and help him get through it, but I thought it looked fucking cool. But that was the entirety of the Back to the Beginning celebration of Ozzy Osbourne's entire life. It was an amazing experience, even watching the live stream. It was crazy to have an event like that was more or less live, so everyone around the world was sharing this in the same moment, sharing it with Ozzy, seeing the emotion coming from him. And with that, the only thing left to say is a huge thank you to Ozzy Osbourne and his entire career in Black Sabbath for starting metal and doing all this shit. Thank you for all of the drugs that you took that helped influence your crazy story. So even though the live stream had some hit and misses, I would say overall it was well worth the price. And supposedly all the money is going to charities to help Parkinson's, which is what Ozzy is suffering from, which is why he has to retire. So all you people complaining that Sharon's just being a greedy capitalist, maybe read. I would have preferred to not pay for a live stream either, but for what it was, I think it was worth it. But what did you guys think of the event? Did you watch the live stream or were you there? I would love to hear from people who actually got to experience in person. Did you feel it was worth it? Was it even more emotional being there in person? Let me know in the comments below. For more from me, check out my band Dark Insanity. You can find us on Instagram, on Spotify, on all of the streaming platforms, on Bandcamp as well. We have our EP Rabid Psychosis out now. This October we are playing with Carnivore AD at the Whiskey A Go Go in Hollywood, October 16th. Tickets are $25, so hit me or the band up if you'd like one. We've got Wyatt's Metal and Dark Insanity merch available now in my shop. We've also got hoodies, hats, buttons, stickers. We even have Dark Insanity weed bags. Link is in the description of this video. Anyway, that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next video.